Can't get that in France. Open 24/7. Whoosh. Let's see, this one is from City Lights in San Francisco. This is from the Monterey Bay Aquarium. Or no, wait, it's from Reef Check, which is like, I don't know, I have a lot of marine biologists in my family. This is from a lipstick company. One of my really good mentor, big brother type people gave me this. Pan-Pacific BOURSE. How many of us search the library for the new installment of fantasy, dystopia, comic thriller, romance every other day, and not a single late fee? We picked books best read by the pool next door, for in this lucky park, where you played softball and I cheered, we also had a pool. It dripped off us like diamonds while we reveled in tan lines from 2 big swimsuits before we knew any amendments. 1 hour of minimum wage translated to a whole summer day, $1 for youth admission. 4 more bought a hot dog with onions, red soda and chips. Please. We vowed to try every ice cream flavor by September. The rest of our allowance spent on chocolate and pink licorice spent for late nights reading. When the lifeguards went on break, we ate on the grass in front. A chain in the flagpole clinks like drugstore change or shells, 3 buses from the beach. Ants on ginkgo branches whisper trade secrets. You could hold your breath longer than me, but I read faster. Do you remember when my hair was lime green from chlorine and the coolest you'd ever be was shivering in the young adult section with a book, a damp towel, a stomach like an upside-down cereal bowl? The scales in our eyes tipped between paperbacks and hardcovers, whichever's easiest to carry, bicycle basket heavy tilting home. The plastic wrappers at the back of my closet smell like sunscreen.
What inspired you to write this piece?
I was thinking about the kind of economics of childhood, because I remember when I was like 10, $20 seemed like the most amount of money that a person could ever have. You know, I'm at 7-Eleven and I'm counting up my quarters so that I can get some red vines to take home. And just I think in any metropolitan city there's a lot of free programs that are available and open to children, which are great, like the library and the pool in my neighborhood, which was $1 and you could stay there as long as you want, the park, softball, all of these things. It's before things start getting really expensive. So Pan-Pacific BOURSE, Pan-Pacific pool, Pan-Pacific park is the place where I grew up. And then BOURSE means it's like the French stock market. So it's sort of like, oh, well, you know, if I give you 3 gummy bears, will you give me half your chocolate bar, stuff like that. Trade.
Right.
Very important.
Reminds me of the lunch table.
Exactly.
I don't really like my sandwich. What do you got? What's it like living in Paris, coming from LA?
It's funny to think that Paris is the other city that I've lived for like a chunk of time. And that's only because I've lived in Los Angeles my whole entire life. So living in Paris for, 2 months, it's the longest I've ever lived anywhere else. Which is nuts. It's just nuts. Especially because I really like it here. And I don't know, you have to avoid all the tourist stuff. You have to avoid the romanticism that's already been set out for you. And go find grimy things. And
What role does Paris play in your work?
For my mom and me, I think that Paris in our household held the place that like Jerusalem is supposed to. Where it's like, oh yeah, next year in Paris, next year we'll go. It'll be wonderful. It's it's the motherland. It's where we're supposed to be. It has all of these wonderful things and all these streets that we just know automatically and all of that. So I didn't necessarily watch a lot of films about Paris growing up. I would have my mom to tell me about the country and things like that.
So our concept is called Runaway Poets. What is a runaway poet to you?
Runaway poet. I think someone who's just comfortable being other places and they're not going to make a nuisance of themselves. That's what I always worry about when I'm traveling, is making a nuisance of myself. I was walking around the city with some American friends a few days ago, They were very loud. And they order in English and have their phones out, at the table taking pictures of food and all. And I'm like, you guys are blowing my cover. But for the poet part, I really do think that writing is the most accessible art form because, I guess like singing or something, all you need is your own voice, but not a lot of people are born being able to sing opera or anything. I definitely can. Anyone can write though. Anyone can take a pen and paper and describe their surroundings. And that sort of accessibility is wonderful countryside, city side, no matter where you're going.
Compared to, say, 50 years ago, poetry struggles to reach the mainstream. How is technology affecting the art form?
Yeah. Well, in the 60s, they didn't have the internet. So when information got around, it got around in, a total blast and wave. But nowadays, we are technically, like, connected all the time. So there's always information. It's never going to be, like, blackout and then, whoa! Or a bunch of new stuff. I am interested in poetry and writing that involves technology in like smart, delicate ways, that isn't necessarily sci-fi, or isn't making a gimmick of it, because, a cell phone hasn't been around as long as a tree, a more established literary symbol. We generally know what a tree is. I can name poems dating back hundreds of years that involve trees, right? But it's not the same thing with cell phones. Like there's a woman in front of us taking a picture with a cell phone right now, right?
Right. There are many women taking pictures with cell phones.
Exactly. Beautiful. It's a beautiful courtyard. But because we're still understanding what cell phones mean within the physical world, we don't have a grasp on what it means figuratively. People who are able to absorb all of this technological information and then be able to render it into something literary, that's the ticket. Not to say that trees are gonna, become extinct. I hope not. Oh God. You ever just wake up in the night and think about climate change?
In the middle of the night, no, but as soon as in the morning,
Yeah,
first
up.
thought.
First thing, whoa, we're dying.
If you had one wish for society.
Oh boy. One? Environmental justice. I work a lot in the education world and crisis center, rape culture type things, and I hate that I have to explain this phenomenon that's like millennia old. No, don't have sex with someone when they're unconscious. Like, this is such a basic principle of decent humanity. Yet, you still have to explain it to people when the world is facing massive scientific, biological, chemical disaster that's imminent. Like, we should all be working on installing solar power, So, environmental justice, I think, because also environmental justice is tied up with every other shitty thing in the world. I would really like clean air, Clean planet. That's what I'd like.